Sup trading vlog. Yo, I'm on my way back from the garden. It's a Sunday evening. Haven't got a trade signal since last Thursday, whatever. Why am I trading? Why do we trade? I'm trading because here's the philosophy and the dream. I want to make the most amount of money in the least amount of time. Emphasis on the least amount of time. And when I say the least amount of time, I don't mean making $1 million by tomorrow. I mean making $1 million in however many years by working 1 to 2 hours a day, or however long it needs to be or should be. So that is why I trade. I would never want to trade waking up early every day in the middle of the night to trade New York. Waking up to trade alerts, trading low, sitting at my desk for hours a day, high frequency trading. I'm not wanting to do that, and I'm not believing that you have to. My philosophy for life is one, money's a tool, but life isn't about money, and life certainly is not about work. And work is certainly not about money. I want my work to be, when I'm working, a small amount of my work is for money. Most of my work is working on my relationships, working on my health, working on my self-development, working on my living area, working in my garden, tending to these sorts of things. Walking the dog is work. That's the work I want to do, right? Working out is work. That's the work that I want to do. I don't love trading. I love all kinds of other things. And the idea is, I love surfing. I love being in the sun. To me, cooking a good meal, taking the time to cook good food is work. That is work. And that's the work that I want to do. Sleep, I want to sleep 8 hours. I want to be relaxed. I want to journal. I want to read. So I want to work the least amount and make the most amount. So how can I do that with trading? Well, let's go back to the bull run 2020 to 2021. I made $400,000. Now, I didn't know what I was doing really, and that was unrealized P&L, which a lot of that disappeared. Some of that disappeared. But I made 6 figures in a couple actions. I didn't take a lot of trades. It took months to do it. But I did a little bit of research and I just bought and I never sold. I ended up selling later on the way down, but meanwhile, during that time, I was working on the farm full time, 40 to 50 hours a week, 40 to 45 hours a week, and I didn't make much money at all from that. I made a little bit. I made my living and I was able to save and I was able to invest more. But there's a total disconnect if you look between time and money. I've done this before and I'm going to do it again. So I've done this several times. The first was out of college. My gig was writing articles and blogging and streaming. And I worked probably 3 hours a day. And I made probably $25,000 a year starting out of college. Now, this was 10 years ago. It wasn't a lot then. It's probably not enough to live off of back then. But back then, $500 for rent, $1,000 for food, $1,000 to spend how I please, $25,000, $30,000 a month. Not too bad. But what did I do if I only had to work 3 hours a day? Played so much basketball, did so much weights, slept a lot. I worked on other things I was interested in, like music, hung out with friends. It was a good life. And then later on, when that well ran dry, and I launched a business, the business was based on recurring subscription. I started off doing one-for-one solution, recurring subscription, $100 a month. I had 50 people in there, $5,000 a month on recurring subscription. And most of the work I was doing was sales and bringing on new people, but it wasn't full time, right? The model was great. work a couple hours a day, and now at this point I was living in California, or traveling. I did a lot of traveling during this time. I traveled to a dozen countries in about a year. It was an amazing experience. I started surfing a lot, learning different things, self-development, social, etc. So now I've done this before, I have a model for it. And what I like about trading is, one, it's the most scalable, because if you can make 10R with a $10,000 account, you can make 10R with a $100,000 account, you can make 10R with a $1 million account. It's the same thing. The most scalable business. It's also something I believe will never disappear, because humans will always be greedy, they will always be fear-based, they will always be impulsive, they will always like to gamble. So there's always money to take from the market. Now, trading for me, my system that I have, I tried a bunch of different things, and what's interesting is typically the less time I spend, the better I do anyways, because it's not the disconnect between how much time you spend and how much money you make is extreme. Like, it's not at all related, right? So when I'm hustling and I'm trying to make money, I'm trying to force it. I'm trying to think like, I need to make more money, so I'm going to trade more. That's not how trading works. It has nothing to do with how much time you spend. Of course, early on, you do need to get the chart time. You do need to build the system, but in theory, you could be handed a system and implement it in your part-time and make $1 million. Now, you got to burn your hand on the stove. I believe that to be the case. But the point is, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. In fact, it probably shouldn't. So my system that I have is based off of a daily close. I get a signal once a day. That's all. There's one signal a day. That's all. Now, the system works great because if I'm using the confluence of the daily signal across multiple correlated assets, it's a much more realistic, it's a much more reliable signal than an hourly chart, than a 4-hour chart, than a 5-minute chart. And requiring confluence across multiple assets, it's much more reliable than trading a single asset as well. So all I need to do is show up at the daily close, interpret the candles. If I have a signal, I put on the trade. If I was in a trade and I have a signal, I exit the trade. That's it. That's all. It should take 30 minutes a day to implement, and I have the rest of my life to do whatever the fuck I want to do. So what do I want to do at that time? That's a good question. Now, again, there's time where I need to come back and I need to do the back testing, and I need to update it, and the system works now, but will work later, and so on. But the most of what is taught or we learn, we experience about money is absolutely bogus. It doesn't need to have anything to do with how much time you spend. It also doesn't need to have anything to do with how much impact you make. Traders make zero impact on the world. It's not a negative, it's not a positive, but you don't need to make a big impact. You don't need to help anyone. You don't need to service anyone. You don't need to spend a lot of time. You can make a lot of money in a short amount of time. Or, for me, it's not important that I make a lot of money. It's important that I make a living in a short amount of time. And again, I'm not saying overnight, but I'm saying I want to work a couple hours a day. And you know what? I actually want to work more, but I want to work on other things, right? I want to work on the farm. I want to work in my garden. I want to work on my living space. I want to work on learning different skills. I want to work on working my body. I want to work on working with my dog and doing dog shows and dog training and all this. To me, that's what life is all about. And that's what a good life, and that's what trading is all about, is to enable that. Not trading for the sake of trading. Trading doesn't need to be fun. It doesn't need to take a lot of time. It doesn't need to be engaging or exciting. And you can design it in such a way where you mostly don't do anything, and you shouldn't do anything. Like, the best opportunities happen rarely. There's good market opportunities, in my opinion, multiple times a week. There's good market opportunities. Not necessarily every day. There isn't a good opportunity every single day. There's great opportunities every month. There's amazing opportunities every year. If you piece together enough good opportunities, you get a couple of the great opportunities, and maybe you catch an amazing opportunity. How much time does that really take? And you can spend your time. I'm gonna go for a swim right now. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. I'm gonna sleep in. I'm gonna walk the dog. I'm gonna go to the gym. And I'm gonna come back to see what happened. And if I like the candles, I'll trade. If not, I won't. And all I need is just to make, really, even with what I have, a couple R a month to sustain. And if I can do 5 to 10 R every once in a while, I'll make a fucking massive killing. Just need to be consistent as well, and just stay away from the losers and not spend a lot of time losing. Like, the worst is not even spending money losing, but spending time losing. The losers take so much time staring at the chart and waiting. So that's where I'm at. I feel good, and yeah, I'm ready to. I'm just loving my life, really. That's right, Nolana, your work. You're a priority, Doug. This dog is a priority to me. Work. I want to see you work it. No diggity. This part's always fun. Peace.